how do you want to feel most of the time, if not all the time? Of course, it is inevitable. We are going to feel the waves of life, the ups and the downs, and we just have to learn how to navigate those. We have to learn how to sit in our lows and not to make them lower than they have to be. In the same way that we shouldn't sit in our highs and think that's all that life is, because ultimately it's going to come back down, and you don't want those lows to feel lower than they have to.
I've seen so many times before.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ellie Jane, and lately I've been feeling a little overwhelmed with life, and so I just decided I would talk to the camera the way that I would want someone talking to me. To be honest, there are a lot of things that I'm regurgitating to you that my partner has told me in these situations. First and foremost, I'm the kind of person who very much likes to be in control of their environment. Of course, there are times when I just go with the flow, but there's so many little things that can easily set off a switch in my brain, and I just go from being totally normal to instantly being stressed out, anxious, or overwhelmed because of this change in what's going on in the day. This can be anything from, running late, or forgetting an ingredient at the grocery store, making the wrong turn. It can literally be anything that is a minor inconvenience. I just find myself spiraling. So I think we need to understand that constant anxiety or feeling consistently overwhelmed is not normal. I want to paraphrase something that Dr. Joe Dispenza has said many times. So he said something along the lines of, an event will trigger an emotion, and an emotion will trigger a reaction. So when you continue to react to the same event, same scenario over and over and over again, this reaction eventually becomes a habit. And that is what happened to me. When these minor inconveniences happen, I tend to react the same way, and it's usually in a negative way. So I'll start to feel overwhelmed, I'll start to spiral into my thoughts, and it'll just feel like something in my system is threatened. And then I just start to foreshadow like what's gonna happen. Oh, because this happened, everything else is gonna go wrong. And then I just find myself constantly writing this narrative in my head every time something goes wrong. Stress is actually a positive emotion at times. It can save you from threatening situations, actual threatening situations. It will trigger your fight and flight response. But when you're constantly in that state of fight or flight, when it's not necessary, it consumes a lot of your energy. It will make you think really irrationally. Going back to what Dr. Joe Dispenza said, he even said that this constant stress, this constant anxiety can actually alter your DNA. And I'm not going to get too into that. You can read into it in the description because it's actually pretty interesting. The stress and emotion actually does affect you on such a deep level when it is constant. So let's talk about how you can stop this pattern, because as much as we say like, I can't help but feel this, there is a part of us that can control to what extent and to how long we can feel like this. Because there was a time when you weren't feeling this way. By that I mean there was a time when you didn't have this habit of constantly reacting to the same scenario every single time. In the same way that you got to that place of developing that habit, there is a way to reverse it. And of course, this doesn't apply to every single person. Of course, I don't understand the level of anxiety that every single person feels, but this level of situational anxiety that I feel, I know and I understand that when I break it down, I can control it and I can reverse it. So first thing you have to do is not shame yourself. And that's something that's really easy to do when you do feel overwhelmed or stressed. And if you are putting that anxiety and stress onto someone that you're with or the people around you that you're with, you start to feel like ashamed, like I should not be feeling this way. We have to understand at the end of the day, what you're feeling, whether it's anxiety or stress or overwhelm, it is a form of energy, but it is a negative form of energy. So if you are going to feel ashamed on top of that, you are only contributing to the negative energy that you're feeling, and it's just a waste. Instead, you have to catch yourself when you first think that first thought of, oh no, something's wrong. Break down the thoughts. Instead of just letting your thoughts kind of flood into your brain, oh no, something's wrong is usually followed by, now the next thing is gonna go wrong. Stop yourself there. Try to come back to a rational place of thinking. Not everything's gonna go wrong just because one thing is messed up. It's a lot easier when you see it from a third person perspective, when you take a step back and you analyze the situation. Like, okay, there's this person who's feeling stressed out because she forgot to buy something at the grocery store while she was there. She's halfway home. Now she has to turn back and buy it. Think of how simple like these little things are. If I had to buy that ingredient to cook for a meal that I'm gonna bring to a party or whatever it is, if I had to turn back to the grocery store and buy that thing and it makes me another 10 minutes late or whatever it is, 20, 30 minutes, is it the end of the world? No. What's the worst that can happen? Oh, I'm gonna run late. I'm gonna have to apologize for myself. Are they gonna think something of me? I feel like sometimes it comes down to what we think that person is gonna think of us. This all comes down to programming and your self-perception, and it goes a lot deeper. But to simplify things, forget about what they're gonna think of us. Forget about the fact that you're running late. There are so many worse things that can happen because you're in this state of anxiety. It can take you away from your focus. You can end up in a car accident, which would be so much worse, but the situation could be way worse than it is. And usually what we're panicking about is not even worth our energy. So after you think about what's the worst thing that can happen, this is the thought that my partner always brings up to me when I feel like this, and it really brings me back to the present. If I know I'm gonna feel good about it when it's resolved, why can't I feel good about it right now? That thought always slaps me out of it. I already know that once we get to the destination, or once this meal is cooked, or once this problem is resolved, I'm gonna feel so much better. So why do I have to wait for all of that? Why do I have to go through all of this stress and worry and anxiety to finally feel good? Why? Why do I have to feel that way and endure that time of anxiety just to know that once it's over, I'm gonna feel good? It does take a lot of conscious effort. It takes a lot of reminding, and it takes a lot of patience with yourself to snap out of that spiral. And another thing that can really bring you back is your breath. And I know it sounds really like kumbaya to some people, but when you pay attention to your breathing in those situations, you're not actually breathing properly. You're either holding your breath or your breath becomes really shallow and quick. Just place your hand on your belly, take a deep breath until your hand is moving out from the expansion, and sigh it out. Like, it really does feel good to recalibrate your breath. So if you think about it, when you're under stress, your breath pattern starts to change, and it will ultimately alter your heartbeat. It'll change how everything in your body is functioning on a molecular level. And so when you take the time to pause and study your breath and slow it down, everything will slow down, from your breath to your heartbeat and ultimately your thoughts too. You won't feel like your brain is constantly being attacked with these thoughts. One of the best things to center yourself in these situations is to remember that everything is temporary. Your existence here is so temporary. I know it's a little existential to say this, but when you think of our existence relative to the entirety of the universe and the time that has elapsed, we are nothing. And I don't mean to say that in like a doomsday, you are irrelevant type of way, but when you think about what made you anxious in the first place, it really boils down to nothing. At the end of the day, our time here is so temporary. So how do you want to feel most of the time, if not all the time? Of course, it is inevitable. We are going to feel the waves of life, the ups and the downs, and we just have to learn how to navigate those. We have to learn how to sit in our lows and not to make them lower than they have to be. In the same way that we shouldn't sit in our highs and think that's all that life is, because ultimately it's going to come back down, and you don't want those lows to feel lower than they have to. Just reminding yourself, how do I want to feel 90% of the time, if not all the time? And if it's happy, then what can I do to feel happy most of the time? Especially when I know that at the end of the day, I can control it. Again, I can control for how long I'm gonna feel stressed or anxious or worried. Yeah, life just isn't that serious, and we need to learn how to have fun and take some things as a joke and kind of just laugh things off when it doesn't go the right way. But let me know what helps you the most when you're in these situations where you're feeling a little stressed. What helps bring you back to the present and helps you calm down? I would love to know. and I'm sure there are many people that can relate and are also looking for answers. So if you stayed to this point of the video, thank you so much for sharing your time and energy with me. I greatly appreciate you, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.